This is Classroom iPad Integration Ideas. My name is Derek Burgett. I teach in Fort Wayne Community Schools in fourth grade. I thought I would go over just ideas today. I'm not going to necessarily go over how, this isn't a how-to video. It's more of a here are ideas, how you can use iPads in the classroom. Hopefully this can give you some ideas. It can maybe get you intrigued in how you can integrate things in your classroom. Not necessarily the things I show you, but just in general ideas and get things jump started. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to talk only about two things today. The two things I'm going to talk about are going to be email, setting up email, just looking at what you can do when you have it set up on an iPad. And also I'm going to talk about student portfolios and how that can be used on an iPad in the classroom. So we're going to start off with email. I just have listed a few things that I used email for last school year and have begun this year. Things like morning work for students, daily coursework, that could be just email them instructions. It could be, you have an assignment, a list of 3 or 4 things that you need to email them, and it gives them a list of what they need to accomplish. And finally, many of the apps, as you know, on an iPad can be opened up and used more thoroughly and whatnot when you have email attached. So things aren't always just stuck on an iPad. You can send them places and share them with people. So let's go ahead and get into the email side of it. And let's go ahead and talk first. I know a lot of people are apprehensive about things because of the time requirement involved in a lot of things that you would want to accomplish. Just in setup alone, sometimes that can be a hurdle. I found that the process with setting up an email on an iPad is really no more than about 10 minutes, and most of that time is spent with, there's a process involved in linking in, their Gaggle accounts that takes the majority of it. As far as clicking and entering information, it's a 1 to 2 minute process, but then it takes it another so many minutes for it to finally accept it. And once it's accepted, it is a one-time setup. So it's not something you have to do over and over and over again daily. It's a 10-minute thing up front, and then you've got it set up. Now, of course, if you're sharing iPads with someone, if you have a 2-to-1 where 2 kids share an iPad and a kid has to go share with a different person, well, then you'd have to delete that account and set it up again on a new iPad. And again, that process is going to take you about 10 minutes to do. But overall, now that 10 minutes is per iPad, but I will say I like to do this as a whole group, but that becomes a management thing on the teacher end that they just kind of figure out what's best for them. Maybe they could do a small group of 5 kids all at once, and that 10 minutes then would be for those 5 kids. If you set it up by yourself, you can expect it to take a little while for that to happen if you do it on your own. Well, that's something to keep in mind. But overall, the process is 10 minutes to set that up. Now, let's get into some advantages of setting up an email account with through your iPads. First thing I put is just a quick daily email. I like to send out morning work and just get them started. They get their iPad, they open it up, they click on their email, and they see a to-do list. And it's real quick. It just took me a few minutes to type up in the morning as you would any other time when you're getting your classroom ready, and you just email it to the students. Now, with that, of course, I've set up through my Outlook account, I've set up a distribution list which has all their classroom emails. And then it's just, once you have that set up, you just click on that list you're looking for, and you send a blanket email out to all 25, however many students you have in your classroom. Students can be also given clear direction to refer back to often. We all have those students who need to have the directions. They have to look at directions, see directions 5, 6, 7 times before they really catch on, or they're in the middle of doing one and then they forget what they're supposed to do next. Well, in their email, they can refer back to it as many times as necessary. Also, you can put links to specific websites, to specific internet places they need to go to versus them having to type it in. You can also link it to a PDF, or depending on what you have and what you're sending them. So it's just a convenient factor without them having to go search and waste time searching. Also, there are some other advantages. I like to have them do different things like their Common Core review math paper with their iPad. So I'll email that to them using our FWCS PDF printer. And and truthfully, you can use this for anything. You can use it for a Word document because Word documents don't always like to communicate nicely with the iPad, but you can send it to the FWCS PDF printer and it can come back as a PDF, and that file then is very friendly with the iPad. The iPad is able to latch on to that and it can open it up and it can use it in many different programs. And if you have an app that you can write on PDFs, it really, really opens things up as far as kids actually doing work on the iPad versus looking at it and seeing it, and they can refer to it on a piece of paper. Well, if they have some kind of a PDF writer, then they can just do their work right on the iPad. So it really opens it up and it makes things really convenient for students. Now, another advantage is the access and the share capability for these different things. You'll notice that on here you'll see that share icon, and the share icon is on a lot of programs. You think of like Keynote or Pages, or you'll think of other apps that you might have. Could be things like notes. If you typed up some notes and you want to make sure you send those to your students, or if they took some notes of something and they want to send them to you or to another student, that share button really comes in handy. And when you press the share button, the mail icon will come up, and you'll see the mail icon right here off of a math paper. And you wouldn't necessarily have to share a math paper or anything, but that you get the example there where that mail button comes up quite a bit. Now let's go on to the next portion of the ideas in integrating iPads into the classroom, the student portfolios. Now this was a big one for me because so many times you have the students working on big projects or work on even little projects, and it's on the iPad, but there's no way to access it. There's no way to get to it. You want them to be able to proudly display it, show it, share it with parents. You want all these different kind of things to happen, but it's just it limits you without having some place to put these. So one thing I used was Google Drive. You can think of Google Drive as a big storage bin for all kinds of information that you would like to save somewhere. And it also is nice because it's a central location. You don't have, as long as you have internet connection, you can access what you're looking for. For the teacher, that's extremely convenient. And also, it is nice to come up and share with parents, even share with teachers. Other students want to see work. So creating a student portfolio using Google Drive was the best solution I found. I'm going to take you through a little overview of what Google Drive actually is. Google Drive is nothing more than basically, if you think about the old, when you would save things on your C drive because you just wanted to save it and come back to it later, or if you wanted to come back to it and print it off 5 days later, or whatever it may be, Google Drive is basically a C drive. Google Drive is usable with the kid's Gaggle email address. It's automatically set up for them. They already have access to it with using their Gaggle email account. Every student has a Gaggle email address and password. Now that's another conversation as far as getting those, but every student has those. Google Drive, if you went to Google Drive and you typed in each student's Gaggle email address and then they entered their password, they would automatically be given or taken right to their Google Drive account that is there for them. And this helps them set up digital folders. And I'll show you what this looks like so you can see. And I give them folders for each subject. So let's take a look. Right here you have my class student portfolios. So each one of these is a folder, and each one of these folders is one of my students. So you can almost think of each one of those little folders as basically their desk. and they put things in their desk. And inside their desk, if I was to, let's say I just click on Zach's, um, uh, his folder right here. So I clicked on his folder, and then up would come this. It would be his folders that are inside of his desk. I have a math folder, a reading folder in there, a social studies folder, a writing folder. Of course, you could have science. You could have, you could really, the sky's the limit on different folders that you want your kids to have. He has shared each one of these folders. And let me take you back really quick. All he needs to do is share this folder with his name on it. And once he shares that folder with me, his teacher, everything else after that is shared directly to me. He doesn't have to go in and share, okay, now I need to go share to my teacher my math folder. Now I need to share my read. After he has shared that first folder with his name on, everything after that becomes shareable and I can see it. And that's really, really important because as soon as he shares with me, then I have access to everything he's working on. I can see it anywhere I have on my iPad, anywhere I have internet connection at home, any place I need to get to work that he is working on, I can get to it quickly. So now let's say I'm inside his desk. I'm looking at his folders and I want to click on his reading folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on his reading folder. And then inside his reading folder, up comes things he's worked on, he's finished, or he's currently working on. You'll see on here just a few of these different things. You can see some of the vocabulary slideshows he's done. You can also see his literature circle notebook that it's running, it's constantly being used. You see some other projects where there are comprehension things that he was doing. One of them is his middle of the year fluency read that I have saved in there for him. He can go back and look at it and listen to himself read. There's others on there, but let's just say I'll go ahead and click on a weekly vocabulary. And for the sake of being able to show you maybe more than one, I put just two of them up there. These are inside of that project. I just scrolled to a couple of the slides of his weekly vocabulary. So what he's done is he's taken some words from the reading that week, and he has defined it. He has put a sentence with it, and then put a picture that kind of represents the word, so he can remember that word. And there's two of them. And if you really look to the one on the right, you will see on that slide that there's an X there. You can kind of see, if you look close enough, that there's a slide above. All I need to do is scroll up and down, and I can go through at home after he's left. I don't have to go find his iPad. I can look on my iPad because he saved it in his Google Drive and scroll through each slide, looking to see, has he, first of all, completed the assignment with all 7 words from that week? Has he defined each one? Has he written a sentence? And has he found a picture that represents that? And then, of course, then I can go through the grade book and give him points for however many slides he had, if he met the requirement. And then I can go on to the next student. And it's all right there without me having to go look through their desk if they didn't turn it in, or it getting lost somewhere in the shuffle because they accidentally recycled it, or who knows what they've done. So that is one huge advantage of being able to set up student portfolios. Now, the other thing is if you go right to this slide here, or these slides, or even before this, there's many ways you can share this. But I could just send this right to his mom, dad, if they wanted to see something he's working on. They might not want to see his vocabulary necessarily, but there's other projects he is working on where if you go back and you'll see inside there's a couple projects that have that little triangle in the center. Well, one of them is his middle of the year fluency read. I can take that and I can send that right to a parent. They can look at it. If I needed to, I could send it right to his intervention teacher, where they can take a look and say, okay, I see what he's doing for you, and we can kind of compare notes and see maybe where he needs to improve his reading. So there's a lot of different neat features with just being shareable as well. And in the end, it also gives him a year portfolio of projects he's worked on. So I wanted to make sure that you realize this is by no means a how-to video. It is definitely not a video saying this is how you do this, but these are just ideas of things that I did And of course, if you need information, you feel like, oh, this could be useful to me, well, there should be videos to come on how to on each specific process. And, if you have ideas, and, maybe this triggers ideas that you had or you could have about things that you could use your iPad for. So hopefully you got just a few small ideas. Maybe something was beneficial. Feel free to email if you need to. If you have a question more about something that you saw, not a problem. And until next time, we'll see you. And hopefully we've helped you integrate iPads into the classroom. We'll see you later. Bye.